Into the ballgame as Paul McKeskey has become kind of a cult hero in Milwaukee, Tommy.
Fred Roberts hits McKeskey at the other end.
And we are back. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Ricky Hampton with my great friend Paul McKeskey. Mo, we just went on last week, but that actually makes it 2 weeks, and it seems like forever. And brother, I miss your insight on the NBA. I also miss your friendship, but we got a lot to talk about because a lot of crazy things have been going on in the
shoot, Ricky. I'm missing. There's no games. Where are the games? We had a month of games every night. Now we can't get a game till Thursday. Come on,
man. Absolutely. We got. I'm sure New York is very happy to have the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers in the finals as opposed to the New York Knicks.
It kind of says, everybody's saying how fixed the NBA is. Well, if it was fixed, the Knicks would be playing right now. So come on, people. Wake up. Two small markets, very expected in the West, OKC, very unexpected in the East, Indiana, because where is Cleveland and where is Boston? And, but they're two really good teams. They're matched up a lot. They use their bench. It's going to be a good series. I think, people are giving OKC, I think they're favored by 9.5 in the first game. And it's going to be closer than people think. It's not going to be the gentleman's sweep that they've been through.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Mo, you mentioned some of the myths about the NBA, how the Lakers and the Knicks and the big markets get their fair share. As a guy that's been around it all your life, the only thing I know is true: superstars do get calls, though.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they do. Yes,
that is the one truth, right?
Yeah, I mean, people, let's do the conspiracy theory. How did the Dallas Mavericks get the number one pick? It must be fixed. Why do they want the Mavericks to have the number one pick? They would have gave it to New York or LA. So come on, man. Sometimes basketball and sports, and it's a funky thing. And, just look at, I'll just get ahead of us a little bit, but, in the Knicks, the Knicks series, they have the game one, and Indiana and Haliburton takes a shot. It hits the rim, goes 10 feet over the rim, and then goes back in. So that's a fluke. And then he's a quarter of an inch on the line.
Yeah.
So if he wasn't on the line, he would have won. So, it's just, things happen. Come on, man. It's life. Nothing's fixed.
Such a great point, Mo. And you go back to that first game, and I know that's one of Coach Mo's rules. Do not give away games you should win. Hey, you're going to lose sometimes. Okay, but don't lose like that. You're up 7 with less than 2 minutes to go, I believe.
They're up 10. They're up 11. They're up 11 with 2 minutes left. They're up 7 under a minute left.
Right, and that's what I meant, under a minute. Yeah. Nate Smith hits, 20 straight threes. That was a career high for him.
Yeah, and you got to close the deal, because guess what? If they would have won game 1, there would have been a game 7 in New York Garden, and there's a different story going on now, probably. So, well, you know what? It's game 1. We'll get over it with a blah, blah, blah. Forget that. You just blew it. You just shifted the whole series. Now, can you win game 2? Yeah, they didn't. 3, all this stuff, but you can't give away games you have in hand. And they started fouling way before you're supposed to, because they're afraid of 3-point shot that they made like 8 in a row. So they started fouling with 22 seconds left. That's the wrong thing to do. You foul up 3 under 5 seconds. Under if there's 22 seconds left, you're just extending the game for the other team. They made a huge error, multiple errors in that game, and it cost them that game, obviously, and probably the series.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you said, I mean, just win that game, you got a game 7 in New York. So Paul, we've talked about that rule before. Up 3 in the waning moments of the game. You did not give up that 3-pointer, but you have to pick the right time, and you say under 5 seconds, correct?
Under 5 seconds, it's statistically 75-25 or 80-20. If you're up 3 and you foul a non-shooter, or a 2-point shooter, not a 3-pointer, if you foul and put them on the free throw line for 2 free throws, and there has to be under 5 seconds, because that makes that the last play, right? It makes it the last play. So that's the numbers. And I always tell people, we're going to rely on our defense. How many 3-point shots have you seen that tie the game up? Tons of them. How many plays in all of basketball have you seen someone get fouled? They need to make the first one. They make the first one. Then they need to miss the second one in a way that one of their own players will get it. And then after he gets it, he has to put it in. How many times does that happen?
Not very many.
And now with the range of 3-point shooters now, the logo shot, you can't afford to let a guy, even like Haliburton or something like that, get up a 3 even 30 feet away. He's got a 30% chance of making that. But if you foul too soon, like the Knicks did, even 6 or 7 seconds left, there's another play to be had. It's not the end of the game. There's another play. They started fouling with 22 seconds left. There's 5 plays left, and that was a huge, huge mistake.
Yeah. Is that on Tibbs or his bench? I mean,
yes, that's on Tibbs and the coaching staff, because the players take their lead, and they should practice this, and they should know that. And I know the guy went on a tear. He was knocking down threes everywhere, but you can't adjust your strategy because he's making threes. Statistics don't care about that. Statistics are what they are for a reason.
Damn, Mo, you give it to us, brother. Hey, Mo. Wood Age is just giving up his age. Talking about Wood Age, we know how old you are now.
Yeah, so here's the difference. When Nelly hit that, it was like
we lost you, Mo. I think that was that the 69 finals when Nelly hit the free. Oh man, just when Mo was about to give us his punchline, we lost him. 69 finals game. We'll get Mo. Just hang with us. Welcome everybody. I see people checking in. What's up, Steve? How you doing, brother? Steve's already picking OKC, and we're going to get to our picks a little later in the show. Mo may have to use sign language. I go to closed caption. Hey, Paul, how about you sign off? I'll send you another. Or do you think it's your equipment? Yeah, Mo is going to sign back in. We'll get him there. What did you write? Joe D from my beloved Pistons had that shot in the 90s finals against who did they beat in 90? Was it Portland that they beat? No, they beat Portland in 91. They beat They beat the Lakers in '90, I believe, 89, 90. Mo, you back?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes we got to reboot it. Yeah, it was the Blazers. You're right. With age, but Mo, you about to tell us, giving us some insight on the Nelly shot. Of course, your friend and former coach.
Yeah, well, Nelly shot, bounced way up above the rim and then fell in, and it was the luck of the leprechaun and the Irish, and I don't know what Indiana's lucky piece is, but it was very similar. It looked really similar. That was crazy.
Absolutely, and Paul, we got folks checking in from all over. We welcome you. We want to hear your questions and comments. Later in the show, we're going to get into the series in depth and get Mo's thoughts on how. Because Mo, I want you to tell us what each team would have to do to win, and I want to talk about the foundation that OKC have. They have about 100 draft picks out there. Get your thoughts on that. But we're kind of looking back right now. And what surprised you most about the each conference final? Are you surprised OKC handled Minnesota so easily? I got to say I was. I'm not surprised they beat them.
Yeah, but I was surprised that they won in 5, and we keep talking about this all the time, man. Anthony Edwards is a great player. He's got a great personality. He's only 23 years old. He's not the man yet, people. He is not the man yet, and it showed in that series. And quite frankly, a lot of his teammates let him down. Julius Randle let him down. I mean, he scored 5 points in game 4, I think, or something like that. And he was a big factor against Denver and got them past Denver. But I don't know, past whoever they played before that. But he let them down. Naz Reid let them down. DiVincenzo did what he did, and Gobert was a non-factor in the series. Where he averaged 6 points and 7 rebounds. Where he was Superman in the other series, So I think a lot of his teammates let him down, but it surprised me. OKC, they got to the NBA Finals last year in this way. They picked up Hartenstein and Caruso, and those two pieces were the missing pieces of that puzzle. Draft picks are all great, but you need players to get to the NBA Finals, and they picked up those two players. They weren't draft picks; they were free agents and trades. So, but they put together a good, but it's taken them a long time, right, Ricky? I mean, when, does your fan base have enough patience? And in small markets, they have more patience than in Chicago, LA, New York, those kind of places. So it worked for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The Knicks, we kind of touched on the Knicks and Pacers, and man, the way they gave up that first game with Thibodeau, there was even some media stuff about him being fired. I don't think that's going to happen with him. I know in that league, Paul, you never say never, but in general, I mean, he's done a good job with that team.
Yeah, and I mean, a month ago, you say New York Knicks are going to be in the East Finals, everyone would have laughed at you, right?
Yeah.
So people forget that Coach Tibbs brought them to the East Finals when no one thought they would be there, right? And now they want to fire him because they didn't get to the NBA Finals. I wonder, I'll look it up. You could have probably got 500 to 1 in the books here in Vegas of the Knicks being in the NBA Finals this year. So is it Tibbs' fault? I mean, they ran into a deeper team. They ran into a more talented team, and their players ran out of gas. A lot of it has to do with the way the referees are reffing these playoffs this year. It's letting it be way more physical, holding, grabbing. So guess who pays the price of that? The guys that play a lot of minutes. It wears them down. So, if they're calling fouls and it's not physical, you can play a lot longer and have more energy. But you're having to fight and battle and grab and scratch every possession, and you're playing 40 minutes. It's wearing on you. And that showed for both teams, really. OKC was deeper and Indiana was deeper. And we talked about that. Besides injuries, like to Tatum or Lillard or all these guys that got hurt and, that their teams lost. Besides injuries, depth in a 7-game series is huge. They're going to be playing 2 months after the final game of the series. There's players that are on the beach. They've been on beach for a month and a half.
Absolutely. I mean, that Pistons series was almost a month ago now. It's crazy. Yeah. That is crazy.
And I told you on the show when it started, the NBA playoffs are not a sprint; it's a marathon. And if the more legs, the more bodies you have, all that pays off as these playoffs go on and on. It's just a grind, and it proves right. I thought it was a fluke when Denver won it with playing only 7 guys last year. I don't know how they did that. That was amazing. But I don't think you can do that anymore, especially if the refs are going to let them play like this, physical.
Hey, Paul, why do you think we had a change in the way the games were officiated in the playoffs this year?
I think it's because Adam Silver and the NBA listens to the fans. Who pays the bills of all the salaries in the NBA? The fans, either by going to games or buying gear or watching games on TV. That's who pays. So I think over the last few years, we've heard it on our show, Ricky, and a lot of people have heard it over and over. The NBA is too soft. They flop all the time, and they call too many fouls, and they're shooting too many free throws. And it's not like it was back in the day when you had to be a man to play. They listen to that. Now, here's the problem. Like we've talked about the problem the NCAA has. They brought on NIL the same time transfer portal. That's a problem. That creates chaos. That's a problem. And they made a mistake doing that. The problem with the NBA letting it get more physical and telling the refs, hey, let them play more in the playoffs. Most of these refs have never reffed that way before. They don't know how to do that. So what they're doing is they're letting players grab and hold a ball handler and doing all this. That's not physical play. That's hacking. That's fouling. Physical play is bumping somebody, going up and meeting them at the rim. That's physical play. Pushing them off with your elbow, stuff like that. Not holding, grabbing, and that's what's happening. And players are getting frustrated and struggle through it. When I played, it was physical, but the referees, that's how they reffed all year. It was physical all year. You can't go, okay, now in the playoffs, we're going to let them play more. The refs aren't used to it. The players aren't used to it. The coaches aren't used to it. But that's the move. That's the move they made, and that's what's happening now. And even though we've talked about this a long time, Ricky, we like old school basketball, but not this. I mean, you see a play where a guy goes to the basket, and Linda, God bless her, we've been married for 44 years, but I'm yelling at the TV, that's a foul. There's a foul. That's a foul. And then they go down at the other end and call something that's not a foul. That's what's frustrating, I know, for players and guys like me.
Absolutely. Well, we got a ton of questions and comments coming in. Let's get to some of them. And then it's just good to be back on the air, and it's good to be hearing from everybody. Let's go here. OG T-Wolves don't have a good roster, bad play calling, chemistry, also too many long-range shots from a poor shooting team. OG, I think they have a good roster. Your thoughts, Mo?
They have a pretty good roster. That was good as most everybody. Problem is Mike Conley is getting older. He's the ultimate point guard, but he struggled with the physical play of the bigger, younger players. Rudy Gobert is an anomaly. So if he's not being effective for you, and he makes $40 million a year or whatever, so you got to play him, then that's a problem because he takes up a huge spot in minutes. But you have DiVincenzo, you have McDaniels, you have Randall, you have Ant-Man. You have an okay roster. They do take bad shots. I think Ant-Man does. He can make bad shots, but he takes them because he gets frustrated. Because I think the one game you see him in the press conference looking at the score sheet saying, I need more shots than that. Well, go get them then. I mean, NBA coaches don't call plays in the NBA. They call actions and double staggered and do that stuff. But you got to be a player and go find the ball. Go get an offensive rebound. Go get a defensive rebound. Bring it down. Attack the rim. And he was also passing up shots. And so I definitely they have a rude awakening. They're going to have to try and shift that roster, to make some changes. But they have an anchor around their neck with Rudy Gobert. No one's going to take. He's a rim protector, okay rebounder, defensive player of the year, back to back, but he's a liability on offense, and it's hard to play him. But who's going to take him at $35 million a year or whatever? And he's signed up for you.
Mo, help us understand. You said something a second ago. Teach us about the difference between a play and an action.
Well, an action is a play is really set. Nobody really runs plays anymore. They run out of bounds plays, and that all 5 players have jobs to do, and they're specific jobs. And then you hit this guy, and then he does this and that and that. Actions are, say we run a double drag. That's a double staggered pickup top for the ball handler. One guy rolls, one guy pops. You attack, you hit, you can do a dribble handoff. There's a lot more options you can do. You can do dribble handoffs. You could do flare picks. You could do back picks. You could do picks on the ball. So, there's different options that you give them. We're just going to this is our motion we're getting into to start this, and now we're going to play ball. And now you have to have talented players and smart players to be able to do that effectively. When Golden State was winning those championships, they had great talent. They have high basketball IQ. And I went to Steve Kerr's a friend of mine. I went to a shoot around when they played. They run actions. They don't run any plays, and then it's kind of like read and react. But there's no play that a coach would say, okay, I want Ant-Man to get a shot. There's a play that get them in the right area, but they can top block that, make them go back door. They can deny that. And what happens in the playoffs is the scouting reports are so deep. You have so many days and hours of video work to prepare for them that they're ready for all your plays, all your sets. They have counter defense for them. So if you have options, that's harder to scout against. So I can do an action where, Ricky, I do a dribble handoff with you, right? That's my action, and that starts the motion of the play. But I can also keep it, turn the corner, pass to the corner, and go set a pick and roll for that guy. So you can't defend, you can't scout against that. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that's kind of.
No, it does, Mo, because I want to go back to when the triangle came in. It was this mysterious thing. That was just a bunch of actions. The Bulls.
Actions that were, you had options, you had set options off certain actions. So, like if I have the ball and I'm at the top of the key and Ricky, you're at the wing, my action for you in the triangle would have been, okay, we're going to do a dribble hand. We're going to pass to you. And that starts the triangle, right? So, but if you're overplayed, you can go back door and the guy out of the corner can come up. I pass to him and then we start the triangle. So it's options and actions and reactions. It tells you what to do.
Now, Mo, are you sure you want to start your action with me in the corner? Because I'm going to be open.
Yeah, you're open for a reason, man. Ricky, you're going to be setting picks. That's what you're going to do. And also the difference with plays are set when you're when the ball is at a standstill and you can get guys in certain positions. Actions are run more in the flow of the game, and you just go into the action and the flow of the game. And the thing with actions is you need to be able to play different positions in that action, because you might be, I might be in the corner one play and I might be at the top of the key the next play. I got to know what to do.
See, everybody knows that watch this show. That's why we love talking basketball with this man. 12 years as a player in the NBA, coach, front office, scout, done it all at that level. Mo, that's really good stuff there. And you're gonna love this. I think Woodage has been listening to you, man, because he said this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if he was there, they'd probably be going for a championship. The problem is, and I talked to somebody, the top 100 high school players are here in Vegas and working out for NBA scouts the last few days. So I went to the gym and talked to some old friends that were scouts and stuff, and I kind of brought that up, and they said, yeah, Mo, but one thing is, he was making in New York, he was making like $6 million or $5 million, and OKC offered him $25 million a year, and I don't think the Knicks could do that with the salary cap. But I agree. I mean, Hartenstein and Caruso, right? I mean, put them on the OKC Thunder and they're a contender.
And we're going to get to the finals preview in a few minutes. And I think both those guys are going to play big roles for OKC in that. But Mo, you just said you got the top 100 high school basketball players in Vegas. If you could spend a few minutes with those guys, what would you talk to them about?
I actually have a friend from California has a high-level high school team in LA, and he's staying with me, and he has a 6'10" player in the camp who stayed with us the night before, and we were talking basketball, and he said, please tell me what you think, and I went and saw him play, and I brought him over afterwards. He sat down, and I said, listen, he's a great kid, plays with high energy. He's 6'9", 6'10", jumps out of the gym, lefty, has a nice shot, dives on the floor, does all that stuff. But I told him a couple things. I said, one thing is, you don't play hard enough. Like if you're not out, if you don't have you're jogging on the wings. You're just jogging. You're staying up with play, but you're jogging. These guys over there, I know them. They're watching you jog. You need to sprint. Run hard every time. Sprint. That's a big thing. And, that nobody really notices. The other thing is, at this day and age, and I can't believe I told him this, but I did, like he could probably be a wing eventually. He's going to be a wing at 6'9", 6'10", but he's getting rebounds, and I think he got 15 boards in the game. He's getting rebounds, and then he's outletting it to a guard. And there's another guy that was playing on his team the same size, who's one of the NBA guys are looking at him. He's big time. And he will get the same rebound, and he's pushing it down the floor and going to the basket and dunking or making plays. And I told him, instead of outletting, bring the ball down. You need to show him you can bring the ball down. So stuff like that, I think young players need to learn.
Okay. Chris, Mo, explain your Facebook post on the Coca-Cola OG secondary. And who wins the Pacers Thunder? We're going to get to the finals in a minute.
I posted.
The OG.
Because Chris, I am the OG, man. Come on.
Absolutely an OG, man. Let's see. Let's get to some of these other.
Pop them at me. Hit me with them.
Marcus, sets and players must make reads with and without the ball. Going back to what you were talking about with the actions. Yeah,
Marcus is a friend of mine. He's a really good coach, and he understands, and he works with players all the time of all ages. And yeah, you're right, Marcus. Like, most guys in today's game, they have to have the ball in your hand to be effective. but you need to be able to play like Steph Curry off the ball. That's something that Ant-Man needs to learn how to do. He needs to learn how to come off picks and bump. Remember Reggie Miller used to bump guys into picks and come off, and that's how you're open. Doesn't matter that they're holding you or grabbing you. So it's so important for young kids, but nobody works on that. How do you come off a pick? How about how do you come off, and if they top block you, what do? Do you reject the pick? Do you, all these different things when you don't have the ball in your hands? I mean, you know, it's like
I like that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I said I like what you said about Reggie, and a guy who copied him and told him, and he called himself. Reggie called him Mini Me was Rip Hamilton.
Yes, Rip was great. Yeah.
He had a whole career doing the same thing.
Yep, he run people off picks and back picks, but I mean, if you look how much Steph Curry moves without the ball, he's one of the best players. Just look at the mileage he puts in. But today's players, and Marcus, they're all focusing on ball handling and what do I do coming off a pick, and I got my step back and my hezzy and all this stuff. Marcus, you might know the stats on this. I used to know it. Even if you're a James Harden or someone like that, you only have the ball in your hands for like 5% of the game.
Yeah.
Half of it you're on defense. The other part, your other teammates are handling the ball. So the players today work so much on having the ball in their hands, and they're only going to have it for 5% of the game, and not enough working on the other 95%.
At most. Yeah, that's another great point. Absolutely. Brunson is overrated for a point guard. Poor handles, can't perform when the spotlight's on him.
You're all over everybody, OG.
I think he's mad at the Knicks, man. What you think?
Well, I think Brunson can handle the ball, and he's a good passer, but he's small. And I think that affected when they were playing physical with him and bigger guards on him, he couldn't see the floor. He made bad mistakes. He couldn't get someone on his back and do what he wanted with them. I think he's a good point guard. He's a really good point guard, but I think size bothered him. And, unfortunately, you can't teach size, so he is going to be who he is. But as far as Anthony Towns, he's just a jump shooting big. When he had 38 or whatever and won the game, he's going to the basket and finishing and stuff. But he falls in love with his jump shot. He falls down a lot. He gets hurt a lot. And, that's part of the reason that Minnesota actually traded one of their best players is I don't think they trusted him. And I told people I don't trust him to make the right plays, in a game. He's going to get hot, and he did. But in the long run, he doesn't rebound great. He rebounded okay in the series, but he's not a guy that you can, climb on his back and he's taken to the, to the promised land. He's not that player. And, maybe he's a little soft too. And I think he was hurt a little bit, but yeah, Knicks are going to have big decisions to make, both with with Brunson and with Anthony Towns.
Tibbs doesn't play his bench enough, and he grinds so hard with his starters, playing so many minutes.
Yeah, guess what? Denver Nuggets won the championship with only 5 guys. They played their starters all the time. But Tibbs gets the reputation of doing that because he's done it his whole career. And I think he opened up and started playing some players later on in the series. But Marcus, if you wait to the playoffs and get guys playing in real minutes, it's too late. They can give you spurts here and there, but they can't be depended on. So, I think you got to learn and see how these players react earlier in the season, because you can't wait to the playoffs to do it. But Denver won it with 6 players. They won the championship with 6 players last year.
And Joker and Murray played like Kobe and Shaq in that finals run. Yeah, they were hot, for sure.
Yeah, and Brown came on, and
KCP was big in that series too.
And Aaron Gordon. So then that was their team. That was it.
Yeah. Rick Carlisle, very good coach, Mo.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around. He won a championship with Dallas. I've told people, I advanced scout. I have books of it in my office here. When I used to scout, when Rick coached early in his career, he did run plays, not actions. He run plays, hundreds of them, and ran them all of them during the game. And players got crazy. Then he went to Dallas, and he found out he had a team that could play on their own and read and react and do stuff, and he adjusted his coaching to that style. That's the sign of a good coach. That's a sign of a great coach. And he lets his staff work for him, and they put together a nice roster, and he trusts those other players, and he's an excellent coach for sure.
Hey, Mo, that brings me a question. We know players and games evolve over the course of their careers. Do you see that in a lot of coaches, or most of them got the way they play, and that's how they play? I think about maybe Larry Brown.
Yeah. I mean, John Wooden. That's what John Wooden did. He never scouted. He played his game. We're doing this, and that's what we're doing. Those days are long gone. You don't have enough talent. You don't have enough high basketball IQs that know how to do stuff. You can't trust them. So, you got to adjust with the roster you have. And in the NBA, 95% of the head coaches in the NBA have nothing to do with their rosters. They have input, but the general manager and the owner make the decisions, and you have to deal with their decisions. So if you can't adapt, to what the roster they give to you, you can't adapt. You're not going to last very long. I coached in the D League, G League for eight years, and that's the hardest job in coaching. One of the hardest jobs in coaching, because you don't have control of your roster. When we were in RGV, the Rockets controlled our roster, and they controlled players on the end of their bench that they would send us randomly at any time, and we never knew when they're going to take them back. So we had to adjust to that, and you have to tell your starters, hey, these guys are coming down from the Rockets, and you're coming off the bench, and you got to tell your bench guys, hey, guess what? You're not going to play anymore for a while. We don't know how long, a week, 2 weeks, a month. We don't know. You're just going to have to chill and deal with it. And then they're going to pull those guys up, and we're going to have to readjust again. So coaching is way more adjusting now. It used to be we run this offense and that offense, and we play man or we play zone, and that's what we do. I think those days are long gone.
Hey, here's a good one from Marcus. What else can you do as a player if you're not getting a rock?
Set a pick.
Throw me the damn ball, coach. I'm open over here in the corner.
Set a pick for someone. The best way to get open is to get your teammate open. That's the best way to get open. Set a ball screen, set a down screen, set a back screen. That's the best way to get open, is to get your teammate open. Because if you get your teammate open, the guy guarding you has to help for a little bit, and that's how you get open. And that's what you talked about, Marcus. Players don't understand that. They're going to cut and come to the ball and chase the ball and give me the ball just like Ricky is, and instead, why don't I set a back pick on Ricky? He leaves. My guy goes with him for a little bit, and I'm open. I get a shot. Players don't understand that. The best way to get open is to get somebody else open.
Now, hey, everybody, I can see Mo look over there. Nah, that's Ricky. Oh, hell no. He ain't getting it. I'm going somewhere else with the ball.
You know what that's called, Ricky? It's called KYP. KYP. Know your personnel.
Absolutely. Larry Brown, great coach, great team. No doubt about that. No doubt about that with Coach Brown. And he's really, really hard on his point guards.
I'll tell you a tidbit about Coach Brown. I have all his offense here somewhere. He ran, so most coaches, if you have a call, let's say fifth side for a side pick and roll, right? So I'm going to go set a pick for you on the side, Ricky. Coach Brown was more detailed. He had one call for a side pick and roll on the left side of the basket, one call for a side pick and roll on the right side of the basket, one call for a post up on the left side. So that doubled your calls that you had.
That's yeah. I mean, He's a great coach. He's had a lot of success at every level. Mo, we're going to get into the finals, the last 20 minutes of the show, and we want everybody's questions and your picks. But before we do that, Paul, we're at that point of the season where teams are trying to shake their rosters and everything, and you got two great players who could be on the market. There's no doubt Kevin Durant is available. He's always available every couple of years, it seems. But we could have Giannis also available. And I know it depends on what your team has. But just when you look at those two guys, and we're not going to even take the age into consideration, which one would you rather have?
Well, you have to take the age, or I can't. If Kevin Durant is 8 years younger, I'm taking him because he can score better. He helps his team better. He can win championships. Giannis, he's not. He struggles to help his other teammates. It tells they're 1-9 in the last 10 playoff games that he plays in. But right now I'd probably go get Giannis. But the problem is, what do you have to give up for him? He makes $54 million next year. So you will strip your whole roster and get Giannis, and he'll have nobody to play with. He'll have a bunch of G League guys to play with because you can't pay anybody else. So, it's not that easy. And he wants to go. If he wants to go, I don't know if he does. He needs to go to a winner. He doesn't want to be rebuilding, but you got to give up $54 million worth of and you can only give up like 2 or 3 draft picks. They're not worth very much. They're worth $10 million each. What else are you gonna do?
Steve, I don't see how the Clippers can afford him. They already have Kawhi Leonard on that roster. Who else is on that roster? They have Harden on that roster.
Yeah, I mean Harden's. I think he's a restricted free agent.
Is he?
Yeah, but if I'm the Bucks, I will look at the Clippers. That's one of the teams. If I need to trade Giannis, that's one of the teams I'm looking at, because if I'm trading Giannis to the Clippers, I want Zubac, I want Powell, I want Bantam, and then I want 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, and
but really, if I'm the Clippers, I might do that, right? If I still have Harden, Kawhi, and now I have Giannis, I can play around that, right? So that's not really out of the realm of stuff.
I was going to ask you this question. What it says, the Clippers, I mean the Thunder is the only team that can really take them. That's because I think they have 8 future first-round draft picks.
Yeah, but the future round draft picks don't have value in a trade. They have value, financial value.
But no, Chris, Paul George is in Philly now. He was out in LA. I think George was with the Sixers last year. But Mo, let's get into the finals because we want to get into some of this.
But I'm going to talk about OKC. No way they want Giannis. Why would you want Giannis? You're going to the NBA Finals. You have a roster set. Even if you don't win, which I think they will, they would never make that trade, because now you have guys signed up for a long time, and they're not old. They're younger. You can make it run, to get to the finals for the next 4 or 5 years and win 2 or 3 rings. So they won't do that.
Yeah, and Paul, I don't know why good young teams like the Pistons and Orlando. I mean, of course you want him, but you want to wreck your team that's coming along with the anchor he brings with him.
The only team that would trade for Giannis, I think, was a team that, if they get Giannis, they can give up. What they have to give up still gives them enough to make a run for the championship the next 3 or 4 years. That's the only way. But if I have to give up 4 of my starters, who's going to play with him? I mean,
right.
It doesn't make sense.
Right. Absolutely. Let's get to the finals. Indiana, they were the number 4 seed in the East, and no, they were number 5 seed in the East.
No, they were 4, and
They were
Milwaukee
4,
was 5.
beat Milwaukee, right?
Yeah.
Milwaukee was 5. They took out Cleveland. Cleveland had some injuries, but hey, all credit due to Indiana. What will Indiana have to do to beat OKC? And then what will OKC need to do? Let's start
Well,
there.
it's going to be offense against defense. I'm not saying that OKC's offense is not good. They are, but OKC's defense is the top defense in the league. And I looked it up today, and they do defensive ratings of all the players in the NBA. The top 4 defensive players in the NBA are all at Oklahoma City. Harkenstein, Jalen Williams, Shai, and Kaysen Wallace, Ben Wallace's son.
Wow.
So they're the top, and then Dort is number 19. So they have 4 of the top 20 defenders in the whole league. You have Amen Thompson, Jalen Allen, Giannis, but OKC has 4 of the top or 5, whatever they have 5 of the top 20. So
and Holcomb is a shot blocker.
Yeah, but so Indiana needs to pick up the pace. They win games when they're 110 plus. If OKC can slow them down with their defense, they have enough offensive power, then it's going to be really interesting. And, it's going to be a battle of pace. If you slow the Indiana Pacers down like the Knicks did in one game, you can beat them. But it's a tough, how many leak outs, how many layups, how many dunks do you see the Pacers get every game? If I'm in the video room preparing for them, I'm yelling at my players, sprint back, run back. You got to run back. When I was in Dallas, we played the Phoenix Suns in the West Finals, and we beat them. And on my scouting report is, you got to sprint back, and you can't jog, or they'll kill you. In the first game, in the first time out, all the players are looking at me going, you're right, coach. We got to get back. We got to get back. So that's one of the things, and Indiana's just going to keep pushing it. They push it as fast after a make than they do after a miss. It's crazy. So it's going to be one battle like that because they're both physical. They both are deep. They're both pretty young. They're more well matched than people think. So it's going to be a battle of pace, I think.
Hey, Paul. We were talking earlier about some of the NBA myths and rumors. Haliburton is obviously a very good player. But, man, it seems like if he looks at somebody when the Pacers are at home, he gets an assist. I mean, he'll have 15, 16 assists when he's playing at home. I wonder who the stat guy is from them. Is there an official kind of guy there?
They're all team. So guess why Lambeer led the league in rebound? Guess why Isaiah Thomas led the league in assists? Because they got a ton of them in Detroit. All the stats guys are home team hired. I mean, they have qualifications and training and all that stuff. But what's an assist? Well, I can give him assist or So, but a lot of it is his attitude too. I think he gets the crowd going, but. It's gonna be an interesting series. It's because both teams have players that impact the game. Like OKC has Dort, who averages 7 points and 4 rebounds, but he's one of the most important players on the team because he's a defensive monster and gets on the best players. He plays 30 minutes a game. There's a reason for that. He defends those guys. And then you got Indiana with like Turner or Toppin or Maturin who came through and now he's healthy. So there's going to be a lot of twists and turns in this playoff in a battle of wills.
Steve has Oklahoma City in 6. Send us your picks in. Chris, you're right. That is an amazing stat about the 4 of the top 20 players in the NBA.
5.
5 of the top 20 are part of OKC. And really, Mo, I think they kind of get lost because SGA is such a prolific offensive guy that people kind of look over there first and don't even look at their defense. And Hardenstein, and as I said earlier, I think is going to be a major factor in the series. He does so much dirty work. That's not flashy or showy what he does.
And he allows Holmgren to block shots.
Yeah.
The skinny is so because he's so skinny, but Shai Alexander's a great defender. Watch him on the ball. He picks the ball. He knows his chances. He gets deflections. I mean, he's long. So, it's there's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be physical. Who keeps their head? I think I would pick OKC in 7. I don't think OKC can beat Indiana in Game 6 in Indiana. I don't think that happens. So, I like OKC. The problem with OKC, right, is that they haven't had many close games. I think their point differential in playoff games is 12 or 13 points. They only had one close game against Minnesota. That was a 2-point game. Other than that, they were up 15, they were up 20, they were up 25. They lost by 42. How about that? OKC lost the game by 42 points to Minnesota, and then they came and won the next 2. So
and won the series, right?
Blowouts don't mean anything in a 7-game series. They don't mean anything. Blowouts don't hurt as much as blowing Game 1 like the Knicks do, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely on that. We're heading down the home stretch here on We Got Next. I'm Ricky Hampton with my great friend and Milwaukee Buck legend from Milwaukee, Paul Mokeski. Mo, I mean, every week, brother, you're dropping dimes and insight on us because he's an OG, the Coke OG. Hey, we need to call Coke up, man, and they need to do a sponsorship for us, man.
Well, I think there's too many OGs. There's a couple here too.
Absolutely, Paul. I was going to ask you something else about OKC and their future. They're still a really young team, and everybody says they're set up, and obviously they are in a good place. In all the draft picks, which you give. You don't think a lot about draft picks, I know, Mo.
They're assets, but they're not as big assets as a good player.
Right. And has that changed over the years? Has it always been that case?
It depends on who you are. There's GMs and owners in NBA that think draft picks are gold. And there's other owners and GMs that think they're just, they're a penny you throw in a penny wishing well. I mean, how many busts have there been in the lottery in the NBA draft? Tons of them.
Yeah.
And how many guys you pick at the end of the first round, early second round that are actually good players. So, but it changes so fast, right? OKC looks great right now. Draft picks, they got young players, they got a well-rounded roster, but wasn't that Cleveland last year? Wasn't that Dallas last year? Remember Dallas last year? They have a great roster. They got well, what happened? NBA is fickle, man. It changes fast.
And for Mo, Dallas is going to get Cooper Flag.
Okay, good. Great. So
I'm lobbing that to you.
I mean, is Cooper Flag Larry Bird or is Cooper Flag Blake Griffin? I mean, is Zion? I mean, it's
no. Let's stop right there. Hold on, Mo, because that is a great example. 2 number 1 picks. We saw what Larry Bird did. And Griffin had a nice career, but there's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's you don't know. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, has Cooper Flag played 82 games plus playoffs before? No. Has Cooper Flag played against 3 7-footers on the floor at the same time, or some 6'9" guy, strong guy, Dort hanging on him? I think he's a good player, and I think he's going to be a good player. But is he going to save your franchise? I mean, that's why people think, well, Dallas can't trade that pick because why would you trade Luka and Cooper Flag in the same year? Well, you traded Luka, who is 26 years old and averages 35 points a game. And I mean, you traded him, so why couldn't you trade Cooper Flag too and get an established player? But it's hit or miss. Everything's hit or miss. I mean,
Paul,
look what people were talking about Dallas Mavericks last year. They went to the NBA Finals. They had three big guys. They had Luka and Kyrie all on the same team, and they're going to win championship. No, it didn't work out that way. I'm sorry.
Paul, during your 12-year career when you first got in your league, we have a whole new audience now. So some of these guys hadn't heard all your stories. What was your welcome to the NBA moment? And you probably got a lot of that because Moses Malone was your teammate in practice. And that transition, that going from Kansas where you were the guy to the NBA.
Well, I think like one of the welcome to the NBA was with Maurice Lucas, who was 6'9" power forward, and we're playing in the game, and he just elbowed me and knocked me on my ass and just stared at me, and so I got two things to do. I'm gonna either make it okay, or I'm gonna pick a time when no one's looking and no ref is looking. I'm gonna do the same to him, which that's what I did. And he looked at me and said, "So is that the way it's gonna be, rookie?" I said, yeah, I guess so. And that was that, so, and we were good from now on. And, the other lesson I learned is we had played, I think, 50 games. And, I was tired and we're flying. And I'm like, golly, how long is the season? And, guys like Rick Barry or Tom Janovich or Mose looked at me and said, hey, rookie, we're barely halfway through the season, man. We got 35 more games and then the playoffs. You better snap out of it.
So the rookie wall is real.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, something you've never done before, right? You play now in college, back when I played, you played 6 games. They played 35, 36 games. That's not 82 plus the playoffs. I mean, both these teams have played 16 more games. So they played 98 games so far. They're not in the finals yet.
There'll be no, Marcus, there'll be no pressure on Flag to impact immediately and learn from AD, Clay, and Kyrie. Well, he's definitely some good guys to have on the team with.
Yeah, he's going to he'll learn from Kyrie when he's talking to him from the bench because he popped his Achilles, so he won't be playing anytime soon. maybe, by playoffs. But yeah, I mean, AD takes pressure off. Clay is just a shooter now. He's not the guy he used to be, but there'll be a little pressure off him. But I think he puts enough pressure on himself to be the star he is. I think mentality, competitiveness, basketball IQ, that's what's going to show. And I think, from what I've heard and what I've seen, I think he has that. But it's still a roll of the dice, Marcus.
Mo, 3 minutes left. Anything you want to get off your chest that we may not have touched on throughout the show? And what a great hour. Good to be back on. Good to have everybody checking in with us.
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to this series. I think it's going to be closer than everybody's saying. I think they're really evenly matched. It's going to be physical. I'm going to enjoy basketball. And then, with the draft coming up, I think there's going to be a lot of moves this year of higher level players before this draft. Because unlike me, a lot of NBA general managers value the draft. I think the Spurs have the 4th and 14th pick, so they have some value there, where they get two good players. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of movement is. It's not quite, but it's almost like college now with the transfer portal. Anybody moves all around. The NBA free agency and trades and demanding trades, and I want to be traded, and you have to trade me, and I'm going to sit out. That's made more movement in the NBA. Whether it's good or bad, I'm not so sure yet. I remember back in the day, players stayed where they were for most of their careers. Larry Bird didn't become a Bull. Michael Jordan didn't become a Laker, and Magic didn't become a Celtic. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, one guy that I love watching play for Indiana, and he just gets on everybody's nerves is T.J. McConnell. He's in his ninth freaking year in the NBA. They list him as 6'1". I bet he's probably 6 foot at the most. But how does a guy like that stick around?
He's smart. He can handle the ball. He hits player. He doesn't pick up his dribble. He dribbles around the circles like Steve Nash used to be. He makes the right play, and he's more athletic and better than people think. I mean, he can finish around the rim, man. He freaks people out, and he's got a little pull up. The one thing he really needs to work on, if I was him, is a 3-point shot. It's not consistent yet, but he's like a little gnat flying around. Get out of here, man.
Yeah, and it's done for 9 years. Hey, this got to be the last comment because we got to get out of here. No, not McConnell being Mighty Mouse. Yeah, Mighty Mouse is a good one for him.
He's not as small as Muggsy Bogues and that, but kind of plays the same way.
Once the Giannis and KD dominoes fall, then the action will be interesting. You agree with that, Paul?
I agree with the KD domino. I think that's falling. I don't think Giannis is falling. I don't think that domino is falling. That's going to hold up the process. I agree with Marcus on that because all the teams are waiting and looking at that. But I just don't see it happening. You have to give up too much for him. And if I'm Giannis, do I want to take that risk of going somewhere that I think is great and it might not be, or do I really focus in on helping get this team Lillard healthy, which I don't know how long that's going to take. They need to make some roster changes. I mean, they have a lot of free agents. Milwaukee has like 5 free agents, and Portis is a restricted free agent. So they have a lot of decisions to make. So the domino of KD, yes. The domino of Giannis, yes, on holding people up, but I don't think it falls.
Hey, man, we got to get out of here. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We will have a lot to talk about next week. When we're back out on the air, be sure to subscribe to us at Sports Fluent on YouTube. For the big fella, Paul Mokeski, I'm Ricky Hampton, and we are going to call it a night. See you next week, everybody. Thank you so much.
Man. Yeah.
Oh, Canada.
Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
No, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.